Coming up, Kansas authorities investigate the discovery of 3 people found deceased inside a home in Larned, Kansas.
We got a cold one on our hands, but we're actually going to be abnormally warm for the rest of the week. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the Bushwhacker Museum in Nevada kicks off what it hopes will be a year's worth of special activities.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but it's a pretty chilly start to the work week. Let's go straight to Michael Islip.
Crisp, cold, and clear. Beautiful skies, though. Great shot of the stars and the moon, but as Tanya alluded to, it is a chilly one when you walk outside. We're as low as 16 degrees right now, and really from about 16 to 21 is where we hang with actual temperatures. 18 right now in Joplin. Neodesha dropping down to 11 degrees. My goodness. Now, the Skywatch storm tracker will show you there is nary a cloud in the sky, whether it be us or really through most of the Midwest. It is absolutely a gorgeous, clear morning. Our weather trend for today, how about a good 25-degree bump up? We'll be up into the mid-40s, and sunshine will be the theme. Sunshine and dry weather will be our theme for really the rest of the week, to the point where here we may even talk about this afternoon, chance for some elevated fire conditions with their humidity dropping so low. A 7-day forecast, though, that after mid-40s today, we get to ride the 50s all the way to the end of the work week. If you want to look ahead that far, Tanya, next shot for rain really doesn't appear until we get into Friday evening. Then we've got a little bit of a cool weekend ahead of us, too. Temperature is going to drop some 20 degrees there in between Friday and Saturday.
All right, well, another cold one for the weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, but really, the fact that we're going to be riding 50s all week long, that's hard to beat right there. And sunny as can be.
Yeah, it can't be
all week long.
Looking forward to that for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. One man is dead following a crash between a semi and a sedan in Craig County. According to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, 29-year-old Lance Powell of Afton was westbound on US 60 when he crossed the center line and hit a semi-truck head-on. Officials say Powell was pinned in his vehicle. He was pronounced dead at the scene by Mercy EMS. The driver of the semi-truck was not injured. One person is dead and 2 others injured following a crash Sunday afternoon in Delaware County. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says 25-year-old Haley Witt of Locust Grove, Oklahoma, was killed in the crash. The driver of the other car was taken by helicopter to Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. Passenger of that car was taken by ambulance to Mercy Hospital in Joplin. OHP says they're still investigating what caused the crash. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation, the Larned Police Department, and the Pawnee County Sheriff's Office are investigating after 3 people are found dead inside their Larned, Kansas home. On Saturday night, just after 9, Larned Police Department received a 911 call from a man who found the people in the home at 524 Park Street. 44-year-old Shayla Smith, 44-year-old John Smith, and 12-year-old Carver Smith all died from gunshot wounds. KBI was called in to assist in the investigation, and that investigation is ongoing. Authorities released the name of the victim in Friday's shooting in Jasper County. The Jasper County Sheriff's Office has identified the victim as 50-year-old Brian Smith. Authorities say he lived at that residence. Officials say there will be no charges filed at this time, and an autopsy has been scheduled for Monday. On Friday, deputies responded to a report of an altercation on South Malang Road around noon and found a 50-year-old man dead in the yard with an apparent gunshot wound. They detained a 75-year-old man for questioning. On Sunday, the Bushwhacker Museum in Nevada hosted the first of what will be many special programs throughout the year. French Creole historian and fiddle player Dennis Strodmat presented a Lagina. It's originally a Celtic tradition to share food and bounty throughout the community during winter. Sunday's presentation gave folks an opportunity to learn more about this tradition.
I think events like today, the cultural, the music, the food, it's not just something from the past. It's alive. It's a culture. It's a tradition that's alive today. And people may not be aware of it, but that's why events like this are so much fun, because we're able to educate the public and hopefully develop an appreciation for this cultural heritage.
Officials with the museum say this is the first special guest like this they've had in 2 years due to the pandemic. Mount Hope Church of Christ Coffee Shop is helping raise money to send some of its students to a special event. Winterfest is taking place in Arlington, Texas, which hosts students from a number of churches nationwide. The junior high and high school students at Mount Hope were working hard over the weekend to raise funds so they can get down there. Each student needs to raise $140 to cover travel costs.
It's put on by Oklahoma Christian University. They have one in Arlington and in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. But yeah, it's a weekend event where we get to go and do lots of worship, hear some good teaching, and I think the kids are also excited about playing video games in the hotel. But yeah, we could go down there and have a good time with about 2,000 other people.
If you didn't make it to Saturday's fundraiser, you can contact the church and make a donation through this upcoming weekend. City of Pittsburgh opens its burn site for 2022. The site is located a mile and a half east of Rouse on Quincy Street. Officials say it's for tree limbs and brush only, no trash. Landscape timbers, treated wood, or other items like that, they say the wood must be in its natural form. In the case of inclement weather, you can call 620-232-PARK or 7275 for updated info on the site. And the site is open the second Saturday of each month from 8 until noon. It's 5:07.
And slow down if you see somebody in front of you turning into that burn pile, because the drive is rather hidden and people have a tendency to come up on you very fast when you have brush in the back of your truck.
I feel a story coming up.
Temperatures right now anywhere from 11 to 21, so it is a cold Monday morning. Here's what it feels like. Not a whole lot of difference. That's because we don't have a whole lot of wind. That's the nice factor. We're going to warm up into the mid-40s here later on today, and that's just the beginning of our daily highs increasing all the way into the 50s by the middle and end of the week.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Chiefs wrap up their season with a lock on second place in their division. Now it's time to focus on the playoffs. Plus, we've seen some beloved actors pass away in recent weeks, from Betty White to Sidney Poitier to Bob Saget, and we want to know which celebrity you miss the most. And the Omicron variant pushes hospitalizations to near record numbers. Many of those are children who are too young to receive vaccinations. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
At Hardee's with the $5 meal deals at Hardee's, and feed your happy.
Former Webb City Cardinal and Pittsburgh State Gorilla Caden Roy declaring for the 2022 NFL Draft. Roy moved to the defensive line for his final season at Pitt State, tallied 68 total tackles. That was tied for second best on the team. Also had 4.5 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Roy earning second team All-MIAA recognition.
I'm somebody that's very passionate about the game. I take it very seriously, and I think you can tell just by the way I play on the field that I care a lot about it. All I need is a chance. Like, just put the pads on and let's go play. That's all I need. Somebody to, get me in their camp or have me work out for them, do drills, whatever I need to do, just so I can show them what I can do and what kind of player they're getting when they get out there. Just to represent my home, it's something that's really important to me. It almost feels like I'm carrying something a little more with me, and it means a little more to represent my hometown through this whole thing.
Kansas City Chiefs got by the Broncos 28-24. That was the regular season finale on Saturday. A day full of milestones for the Chiefs. Here's a few of them. First things first, Melvin Ingram and Nick Bolton combining on the play of the game as Ingram forces the fumble. There goes Bolton. Scooping a score and keep your feet underneath you. What a rookie campaign for Bolton. Led the team with more than 100 tackles this season. How about Mecole Hardman? Tyreek Hill, he was limited due to a heel injury, so Hardman stepped up, recorded his first 100-yard game of his NFL career.
Mecole stepped in that position and made plays happen. And he's made plays happen, all season long. He might have the big numbers as far as stats on the whole entire season, but in big moments, he makes a lot of big plays. And he has all the talent in the world, and we'll need that going forward into the playoffs.
Here's your playoff picture. Chiefs needed to win. They got it. Also needed the Titans to lose. They got it. Tennessee came back and barely beat Houston. There you go, 28-25. Chiefs, the number 2 seed in the AFC, and they are not going to play the Steelers. The Steelers, yeah, they are going to play the Steelers. They're going to host the Steelers. Wild one last night as the Steelers got in because the only thing that they couldn't have happen was have the Raiders and Chargers tie. I mean, how often does that happen in an NFL game, right? Well, 2 seconds left in overtime, in case you missed it, with 2 seconds left in overtime, that game was tied. Raiders kicked a game-winning field goal to put the Steelers in the playoff, eliminate the Chargers. And so while the Chiefs will host the Steelers, it will be the Raiders on the road in Cincinnati. We are less than 24 hours away from the College Football National Championship. Georgia and Alabama, 7 o'clock tonight, Lucas Oil Field in Indianapolis. Georgia aiming to snap a 7-game losing streak against Alabama, and the Dogs looking to bring home their first national championship since 1980. Their most recent loss to the Tide came just last month in the SEC championship game. Alabama handing Georgia its first and only loss of the season. Final score of that SEC championship was 41-24 Tide. 5 weeks now later, Bulldogs have a chance to redeem themselves on the biggest stage, and Georgia finds themselves a 2.5-point favorite.
The preparation's been different. We know more about what we did wrong, what we did well, what we can improve on. You can't have multiple turnovers. You can't lose third down. You can't lose red area, all those critical situations, and expect to do well. So those are things that we've tried to harp on and try to do them better.
Oklahoma Sooners putting together a pretty nice basketball season. 27th in votes in the most recent AP poll. Have 2 wins over ranked teams this year and looking for their third against Iowa State. In the first half, C.J. Nolan to Elijah Harkless. Harkless knocks down the 3. Oklahoma ties it up at 27. Now we'll go to the second half. Tyrese Hunter. His time to shine. 3-ball Cyclones building on their lead. Tanner Groves finds Harkless, drains another one. Harkless had 13. Tied once again, Jacob Groves. Right in for a smooth little lay-in. Sooners storm back a 16-6 run and take the lead. Then Umoja Gibson. He had 20. Team high 20 for Gibson as Oklahoma pulls off the upset and wins it 79-66. A struggling Oklahoma State team facing number 14 ranked Texas on Saturday off the steal. Keelan Boone spots up. Boone with a career high 17. He did so off the bench. Then the Longhorns with the takeaway. Timmy Allen. He's going to be on the finishing end of this thing. One-hander. Second half, Avery Anderson, the lob. Musa Cisse, alley-oop. Can't get rid of Texas yet, though. Andrew Jones. Whoa, about from the logo. Makes it a 2-point game. Bryce Williams over to Boone. Got the open 3. Oklahoma State pulls it off. Big win at home over 14th ranked Texas. Final score 64-51. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, the Australian courts quashing the government's decision to cancel Novak Djokovic's visa and order his immediate release. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Just past 5:17 as we roll weather on the 7s, as clean and clear as our January sky is on this Monday. It is cold as well. Lowest ones we see right now, 11 in Neodesha, 12 degrees in Parsons. Joplin sits at 18. Let's roll 20 in both Miami and in Monette. Daily Almanac for today. We're not going to challenge any record highs this week, but we'll substantially be above our average high of 44 degrees all the way up until Friday. Look at that, back in 1990, almost got up to 70 degrees. As far as what it feels like, not a whole lot of difference, or maybe there's absolutely no difference. Maybe technology this morning is like, no, Michael, guess what? There is no wind chill. I'm like, hey, technology, fine. We'll roll with it your way. Skywatch Storm Tracker, nary a cloud in the sky, whether it be us or through the entire Midwest, just being dominated by nice high pressure. And that's going to bring us a whole lot of sunshine for really the duration of the week. And as a matter of fact, minus this system that's working off the Atlantic coast right now, Look at that. For most of everything east of the Mississippi and just about everything west of the Mississippi. But of course, that's also going to present some elevated fire conditions as our relative humidity will continue to drop. Not too bad here. We sit at about 20 minutes past the 5 o'clock hour, but eventually these will easily slip down to 40%, if not even to 30% in some places. Wind's not going to be too bad. That's a nice thing. So and when I say elevated fire condition, we're not going to throw out any red flag warnings or anything like that, as we'll keep the west breeze at about 5 to 10 miles per hour and make it up into the mid 40s. Overnight, we are going to slip below the freezing mark for just one more night, because the 7-day forecast will show you on those bottom panels, with our warm-ups taking us into the mid 50s each and every day. We just get to cruise there in the mid 30s for overnight lows. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Legendary actor and trailblazer Sidney Poitier has died. The first black person to win an Oscar for Best Actor passed away Friday at the age of 94. He's a Hollywood star that was best known for films including Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, In the Heat of the Night, and Lilies of the Field. Jonathan Hunt takes a look back at the incredible career of the beloved actor.
You don't mind being called Mr. Black Man?
Of course not. Why should I? That's what I am, a black man.
He was a talented, passionate actor whose screen work in the 50s and 60s paved the way for countless other African-American performers. Sidney Poitier was born on February 20th, 1927 in Miami, where his parents took a trip to sell their produce.
You start out with a certain amount of values, some integrity, some honesty,
He joined the American Negro Theater and appeared on Broadway. It was there he met a young Harry Belafonte. By 1949, Poitier was choosing between leading roles on stage and an offer to work in a film called No Way Out. The films kept coming. 1951, Cry the Beloved Country. 1955, Blackboard Jungle. 1957, Edge of the City. And in 1958, The Defiant Ones, where Poitier became the first black actor nominated for an Academy Award. But it was in 1963 that Poitier starred in the film that would become a part of his legacy.
Amen. 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 Sing it over.
Lilies of the Field brought Poitier his first Oscar, the first Oscar ever won by an African-American for Best Actor. Poitier's peak came in 1967 with 3 box office smashes that became landmark films: Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, To Sir with Love, and In the Heat of the Night.
I don't think we're going to have any trouble, are we, Virgil?
No trouble at all.
In 2002, the Academy honored Poitier again with an honorary Oscar for his extraordinary performances and unique presence on the screen, and also for representing the motion picture industry with dignity, style, and intelligence throughout the world.
I accept this award in memory of all the African American actors and actresses who went before me in the difficult years, on whose shoulders I was privileged to stand to see where I might go.
Then 7 years later, President Barack Obama awarded Poitier the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Sidney Poitier, one of the most respected and beloved figures in American cinema.
Our question for you this morning: is there a recent celebrity passing that's affected you the most? Our choices include Sidney Poitier, Betty White, Peter Bogdanovich, and Bob Saget. For those of you that may not have heard the news, Saget was found in a hotel room in Florida. He was 65 years old. A couple ways to connect. You can either hit us up on our Facebook page, KOAM News Now. Go directly to the poll, koamnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Healthwatch next.
Hey guys.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, India reports almost 180,000 fresh COVID-19 cases, bringing the country's total to 35.7 million cases. The country also began the limited rollout of its booster vaccine program, which is currently available only to healthcare frontline workers and individuals above the age of 60 who have pre-existing medical conditions. India has been registering a steady climb in its daily numbers, despite varying levels of restrictions imposed across states. Delhi and Mumbai have registered an average of 20,000 cases the past few days, with the country's most populous state of Uttar Pradesh registering 7,695 cases just in the past 24 hours. Most states across the country have introduced a night or weekend curfew and restricted the capacity in offices, public spaces, and transport. More than 1.5 billion doses have been administered overall in India, and that's as of today. The Omicron variant has pushed hospitalizations across the country close to the record set almost a year ago. Adding to the alarm is the soaring number of children hospitalized with COVID-19, especially kids under 5 who were too young to be vaccinated. Polo Sandoval has details on how this is putting a strain on hospitals and educators.
With COVID hospitalizations at record highs in New York, state officials are ordering dozens of healthcare facilities to put non-essential and non-urgent surgical procedures on hold for 2 weeks. The 40 facilities, mainly in central and northern New York, are experiencing at least 90% bed occupancy. That's according to authorities. New York State, just the latest, racing to help hospitals and healthcare networks with shortages of staff and supplies amid the Omicron surge. At the University of Kansas Health System, similar concerns about their facilities approaching a breaking point.
You go from normal operations to contingency, and contingency planning means I'm going to have to put patients in unusual situations. I have to cancel surgeries. But at some point you say, we're too overwhelmed to do any of our normal daily work. We can't even meet all of our patients' demands, and at that point we have to turn on a switch that says we got to triage to the people we can help the most. And that means we have to let some people die who we might have been able to help.
The U.S. is seeing a record number of hospitalizations for children under 5 years old, and new admissions for children under 18 are averaging nearly 800 a day. The figures are fueling the debate about how the nation's school children should continue their spring semester. In Georgia, officials say public school teachers and staff are allowed to return to work even after testing positive or being exposed to COVID-19, as long as they don't have symptoms and mask up, though each school district can make its own isolation guidelines.
I believe that anything that we do that is not putting the priority on keeping students and educators and their families safe is a mistake. We should be using every tool we have in our toolbox to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 in our classrooms.
The Biden administration says it plans to make up to 500 million tests available to Americans for free this month. One emergency physician in Houston remains skeptical that's going to be enough.
We need them now, and 500 million honestly won't be enough. Every American should have at least 2 to 3 tests per week to be testing, and 500 million is not even going to get us near there.
With demand for COVID testing still high, an additional problem is emerging: fraudulent testing kits, according to federal authorities. Experts warning that using fake testing products won't just be a waste of your money. It could increase the risk of unknowingly spreading the virus and delaying treatment for it. The Federal Trade Commission recommending you only purchase tests authorized by the FDA, as listed on that agency's website.
That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, Kansas authorities investigate the discovery of 3 people found deceased inside a home in Larned, Kansas.
A whole lot of blue through the Midwest means a whole lot of sunshine and above average temperatures. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the Bushwhacker Museum in Nevada kicks off what it hopes will be a year's worth of special activities.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, if you like sunshine, you're in luck. Let's go straight to Michael Hayslip.
Going to be in luck for today all the way to Friday. Going to be hard to beat. Now, it is cold outside right now. This will be our coldest morning, though, of the work week. Once we get through this, we're not going to throw up any more teens, even 11 and 12 right there in Neodesha and Parsons like we are this morning. We'll actually be above the freezing mark here for the rest of the work and school week. 17 in both Joplin and in Carthage. Let's roll 20 in Fort Scott and in Miami. Really no difference in the wind chill. That's because it comes in just from the west. Skywatch Storm Tracker, clean and clear as can be. Great shot of the stars and the moon. No precipitation. As a matter of fact, no precipitation for the entire Midwest, to the point where, yeah, you know, we can't be everything everything can't be just perfect for us. We've got some elevated fire concerns because the humidity will continue to drop. Luckily, it won't be too breezy. Up into the mid-40s later on today. That's about average temperatures for the middle of January here, so not a whole lot of change. And then tomorrow night, we are going to drop down below the freezing point. It'll be the last night that we do that, though, and we'll be able to avoid the teens that we have this morning. As a matter of fact, look at these overnight lows. They can't beat that. And these daily highs with all this sunshine that persists until we get to Friday. Really don't even have to worry about any rain until we get to Friday evening. It's going to be a little chillier weekend than what we've experienced, though, lately. Highs of only 38 on Saturday and 43 on Sunday.
All right, thanks, Michael. One man is dead following a crash between a semi and a sedan in Craig County. According to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, 29-year-old Lance Powell of Afton was westbound on US 60 when he crossed the center line and hit a semi-truck head-on. Officials say Powell was pinned in his vehicle. He was pronounced dead at the scene by Mercy EMS. The driver of the semi-truck was not injured. One person is dead and 2 others injured following a crash Sunday afternoon in Delaware County. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says 25-year-old Haley Witt of Locust Grove, Oklahoma, was killed in the crash. The driver of the other car was taken by helicopter to Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. The passenger of that car was taken by ambulance to Mercy Hospital in Joplin. OHP says they're still investigating what caused the crash. In the KBI, the Larned Police Department and the Pawnee County Sheriff's Office are investigating after 3 people are found dead inside their Larned, Kansas home. Saturday night, just after 9, the Larned Police received a 911 call from a man who found the people in the home at 524 Park Street. 44-year-old Shayla Smith, 44-year-old John Smith, and 12-year-old Carver Smith all died from gunshot wounds. KBI was called in to assist in the investigation. That investigation is ongoing. Authorities released the name of the victim in Friday's shooting in Jasper County. Jasper County Sheriff's Office has identified the victim as 50-year-old Brian Smith. Authorities say he lived at that residence. Officials say there will be no charges filed at this time and that an autopsy has been scheduled for Monday. On Friday, deputies responded to a report of an altercation on South Malang Road around noon, found a 50-year-old man dead in the yard with an apparent gunshot wound. They detained a 75-year-old man for questioning. On Sunday, the Bushwhacker Museum in Nevada hosts the first of what will be many special programs throughout the year. French Creole historian and fiddle player Dennis Stromat presented La Ginani. It's originally a Celtic tradition to share food and bounty throughout the community during winter. Sunday's presentation gave folks an opportunity to learn more about this tradition.
I think events like today, the cultural, the music, the food, it's not just something from the past. It's alive. It's a culture. It's a tradition that's alive today. And people may not be aware of it, but that's why events like this are so much fun, because we're able to educate the public and hopefully develop an appreciation for this cultural heritage.
Officials with the museum say this is the first special guest like this they've had in 2 years due to the pandemic. Mount Hope Church of Christ Coffee Shop is helping to raise money to send some of its students to a special event. Winterfest is taking place in Arlington, Texas, which hosts students from a number of churches nationwide. The junior high and high school students at Mount Hope were working hard Saturday to raise funds so they can get down there. Each student needs to raise $140 to cover travel costs.
It's put on by Oklahoma Christian University. They have one in Arlington and in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. But yeah, it's a weekend event where we get to go and do lots of worship, hear some good teaching, and I think the kids are also excited about playing video games in the hotel. But yeah, we could go down there and have a good time with about 2,000 other people.
If you didn't make it to Saturday's fundraiser, you can contact the church and make a donation through this upcoming weekend. Here's Michael with a look at your forecast.
Down to the Midwest, relatively quiet, albeit cool. But the nice thing is we don't have anything to worry about, but actually a warm-up. And the only thing to worry about with that is it brings some elevated fire concerns. Not so much today, because even though our humidity will drop, wind's not going to be too bad. Temperatures right now ranging between 11 and 21, up into the mid-40s with a whole lot of sunshine on a Monday afternoon. 7-day forecast, fill up a slew of 50s that are going to run from Tuesday all the way to Friday.
Right. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. We'll meet an engineer with a plan to stop the Millennium Tower in San Francisco from sinking. But not everyone is on board. Plus, the unrest in Kazakhstan continues to grow as unrest leads to detainment and dozens of others being shot. We'll have the latest there. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
At Hardee's, there's Sachs & Associates, proud partner of Travis Kelce and his foundation, 87 and running.
Topping World Watch, an Australian judge has quashed the government's decision to cancel Novak Djokovic's visa. Earlier today, Judge Anthony Kelly decided the government's decision to cancel his visa had been voided. In addition, the government must pay Djokovic's cost as agreed or assessed and immediately release Djokovic from detention. Judge Kelly went on to order Djokovic's passport and all other personal effects must be returned to him. After the judge's decision, the federal government's barrister said the Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Migrant Services and Multicultural Affairs would consider, quote, whether to exercise a personal power of cancellation. Judge Kelly also confirmed that if Djokovic had been deported, he would not have been allowed back for the next 3 years. Kate Middleton turned 40 yesterday, but don't expect a grand party made fit for a duchess. The Duchess of Cambridge is having a modest birthday surrounded by loved ones, while her husband Prince William was organizing a bash at a private location with invites extended to family and old friends from university. Plans were canceled due to rising coronavirus cases in the UK. Myanmar court sentences deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi to 4 years in prison for multiple charges, including the violation of importing law. In December, Suu Kyi was sentenced to 4 years in prison by the Siberia court on charges of incitement and breaking COVID-19 rules, which was then reduced to 2 years. Suu Kyi, at the age of 76, was Myanmar's state counselor and de facto leader of the country before she was ousted and detained by the military 10 months ago and has since been hit with more than a dozen charges. Well, this year, it's gotten off to a very bad start in Kazakhstan. It began with a sudden and steep increase in the cost of fuel, sparking deadly protest and an official shoot-to-kill order. Imtiaz Tayyab has the details.
This is a nation on the brink. What started earlier this week as a peaceful protest against a sudden hike in fuel prices rapidly escalated into a full-blown uprising. Thousands of Kazakhs filled the streets of the capital Almaty, attacking government buildings and demanding an end to over 3 decades of oppressive one-party rule. State security forces fired stun grenades and tear gas to try and disperse the crowd, with President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev later appearing on state TV to accuse demonstrators of being foreign-backed terrorists and ordered troops to, quote, shoot to kill without warning. Kazakh media have reported that at least 18 security personnel have been killed in the unrest and around 25 demonstrators. But that number is likely much higher, with this woman saying, it's really scary. We feel we have no protection. Across Almaty, and the still smoldering signs of unrest can be seen across the city center, as a Russian-led alliance of former Soviet nations mobilized thousands of troops at the request of the Kazakh government. The crisis comes at a complex time for Moscow. It's already sent tens of thousands of troops to multiple borders with Ukraine in recent months, stoking fears it could soon invade. But the unrest in Almaty could see Russia drawn into an entirely different conflict, one not of its choosing.
In a statement, the Kremlin said President Vladimir Putin had a lengthy phone call with Tokayev, who gave assurances the situation was stabilizing. The question now is, given all that's happened, can it last? That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for something to talk about.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, celebrities that have recently passed away, and yet we find ourselves just about 10 days into the new year. On Thursday, one of the legends of the silver screen died at the age of 94. Sidney Poitier, the first black man to win an Academy Award for Best Actor, won that performance for Lilies of the Field in 1965. A tragic way to begin the new year. Television icon and longtime animal advocate Betty White passed away on December the 31st. She would have turned 100 years old next Monday. And most recently, Bob Saget passed away yesterday at the age of 65. He was found in a hotel room in Florida. Most people remember him as the original host of America's Funniest Home Videos and as Danny Tanner of the long and running TV series Full House. Also, for those of you that knew Bob Saget as the All-American television dad, he was an amazing stand-up comic as well, and one of the raunchiest that you've ever seen perform. A far cry from the Danny Tanner days that he played on TV, but truly a very funny man. We put up a partial list here for our Insta poll here about what's affected you. 63% right now say, yeah, Miss Betty White. And remember, they still are going to go ahead with the film celebrating the life of Betty White. It was originally planned as a birthday celebration. Now it'll be a remembrance and celebration of her life. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. One man is dead following a crash between a semi and a sedan in Craig County. According to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, 29-year-old Lance Powell of Afton was westbound on US 60 when he crossed the center line and hit a semi-truck head-on. Officials say Powell was pinned in his vehicle. He was pronounced dead at the scene by Mercy EMS. The driver of the semi-truck was not injured. One person is dead and 2 others injured following a crash Sunday afternoon in Delaware County. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says 25-year-old Haley Witt of Locust Grove, Oklahoma, was killed in the crash. The driver of the other car was taken by helicopter to Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. The passenger of that car was taken by ambulance to Mercy Hospital in Joplin. OHP says they're still investigating what caused the crash. Kansas Bureau of Investigation, the Larned Police Department, and the Pawnee County Sheriff's Office investigate after 3 people are found dead inside their Larned, Kansas home. On Saturday night, just after 9, the Larned Police received a 911 call from a man who found the people in the home at 524 Park Street. 44-year-old Shayla Smith, 44-year-old John Smith, and 12-year-old Carver Smith all died from gunshot wounds. KBI was called in to assist in the investigation. That investigation is ongoing. And the Mount Hope Church of Christ Coffee Shop is helping to raise money to send some of its students to a special event. Winterfest is taking place in Arlington, Texas, which hosts students from a number of churches nationwide. The junior high and high school students at Mount Hope were working hard Saturday to raise funds so they could get down there. Each student needs to raise $140 to cover travel costs. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
A little bit cold outside on this Monday morning. We've dropped as low as 11 degrees in Neodesha and 12 in Parsons. Joplin and Carthage sit at 17. Let's roll 20 in Miami and in Anderson. Now, after sunrise at 7:32, we're going to finally be able to warm up. We'll make it up into the mid-40s there, so about a 25-30 degree jump in some places with just a little westerly breeze at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overnight, that wind is going to shift and work in from the south. And the south breeze, well, that's going to be here until the end of the week. And look at these afternoon highs. We're going to be able to roll the 50s from Tuesday to Friday. Overnight lows consistently above the freezing level as well. Next shot for rain, looking like Friday evening into Saturday. Speaking of Saturday and Sunday, a little bit chilly right there as we're in the high 30s.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants.
Engineer for San Francisco's Millennium Tower fix is proposing a new solution to stop the Mission Street building from sinking any further. But not everyone is convinced. The engineer on the project answered tough. Melanie Woodrow has the story.
When it comes to San Francisco's leaning and sinking Millennium Tower, the #1 concern is the building safe. Today, the structural engineer of record answered that question.
We have demonstrated to our satisfaction, and hopefully eventually to the city and to the EVRT's satisfaction as well, that the building will remain safe, that it will stop settling, and that it will begin recovering tilt.
The Board of Supervisors Government Audit and Oversight Committee held a hearing to discuss a new proposed fix of 18 piles instead of the initially proposed 52-pile fix.
How few piles can we actually install and accomplish the project objectives?
I'm not sure I know how to respond that you all did not ask that question at the beginning. I mean, why would you over-design something and spend tens of millions of dollars more than you had to? I'm not buying it.
A retrofit that began in May to right the sinking building caused the building to sink even more.
Here looks a lot worse than the disease.
The Department of Building Inspection is providing oversight of the project.
It's actually normal practice to allow the contractor to determine the means and methods.
DBI and the Engineering Design Review Team have until the end of February to determine whether or not to accept the new proposed fix. Not everyone is convinced. Engineer Robert Pike is not affiliated with the project but has been highly critical of it.
I don't think this passes the smell test. What is more likely is that the design team is panicking because they're out of time and money provided under the settlement agreements.
I think it's important that they know that all eyes are upon them.
We'll be back with one more look at your forecast right after the break.
About 2 minutes till the top of the hour. Let's roll through some temperatures here on this Monday morning, as low as 11 degrees in Neodesha. We squeaked out 23 in Nevada. It's a chilly one out there, about a 20-degree drop from where we were at this point in time yesterday. And regionally speaking, it's not just us, the entire Midwest kind of locked in to cooler temps to begin our work week. Very dry though, and also we're going to get a fair amount of sunshine. Don't even have any cloud cover to worry about. And really the high pressure just dominating everything west of the Mississippi. 7-day forecast. Highs today of 45 with plenty of sunshine. That's relatively seasonable. And then Tuesday through Friday, we are able to roll mid-50s. That's about 10 degrees above normal for this time of year. Key factor as well, look at those bottom panels. Nowhere close to freezing until we get from Saturday night into Sunday. We'll be back right after this.
We're here to help. We are the 4-state.
Coming up, Kansas authorities investigate the discovery of 3 people found deceased inside a home in Larned, Kansas.
2 in the purple means a chilly Monday start, but by the time we get to the middle of the week, we're talking about, 10 degrees above average. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Bushwhacker Museum in Nevada kicks off what it hopes will be a year's worth of special activities.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News at 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, got great news for you. Sunshine for the week.
Tanya, can you believe we're 10 days into the new year? That means we're already in the middle third of January.
Wow.
I know. It's like we blinked and we're already here. And on this January the 10th, our average high, according to our daily almanac, would be around 44 degrees. That is exactly where we will end up. We just got to get there first because we've got some cold Canadian air that's whipping in for the morning. But the ridge of the jet stream, that's where you get the upside down U as this thing slides to the east, is going to bring us warm temperatures from Tuesday all the way to Friday. Here's where we sit right now on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Not a worry in the world, not even a cloud in the sky. But that also means a chill in the air. Parsons now at 13, Joplin 18, Neodesha 22, Miami 20, and out through southwest Missouri holding on to high teens, low 20s. The reason I started with Parsons and Neodesha there is earlier this was 11 and 12. So at least they've had a couple degree bump up, and we'll take anything we can get right now because it's going to be a while before we get above the freezing mark, say probably about 10 a.m. But after sunrise at 7:32, that sunshine is going to dominate all day long to the point where eventually, as that ridge that we were talking about out west, as it slides to the east, brings us temperatures a good, say 12 to 13 degrees above normal from Tuesday all the way to Friday. Now it is going to be very dry this week, humidity slipping down around 30%. Next shot for rain, not until Friday evening, followed by a cold front, Tanya. It's going to get us in the high 30s, low 40s for the weekend.
All right, thanks, Michael. One man is dead following a crash between a semi and a sedan in Craig County. According to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, 29-year-old Lance Powell of Afton was westbound on US 60 when he crossed the center line and hit a semi-truck head-on. Officials say Powell was pinned in his vehicle. He was pronounced dead at the scene by Mercy EMS. The driver of the semi-truck was not injured. And one person is dead and 2 others injured following a crash Sunday afternoon in Delaware County. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says 25-year-old Haley Witt of Locust Grove was killed in the crash. The driver of the other car was taken by helicopter to Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. The passenger of that car was taken by ambulance to Mercy Hospital in Joplin. OHP says they are still investigating what caused the crash. KBI, the Larned Police Department, and the Pawnee County Sheriff's Office investigate after 3 people are found dead inside their Larned, Kansas home. Saturday night, just after 9, the Larned Police Department received a 911 call from a man who found the people in the home, 524 Park Street. 44-year-old Shayla Smith, 44-year-old John Smith, and 12-year-old Carver Smith all died from gunshot wounds. KBI was called in to assist in the investigation. That investigation is ongoing. Authorities released the name of the victim in Friday's shooting in Jasper County. Jasper County Sheriff's Office has identified the victim as 50-year-old Brian Smith. Authorities say he lived at that residence. Officials say there will be no charges filed at this time, and an autopsy has been scheduled for Monday. On Friday, deputies responded to a report of an altercation on South Malang Road. Around noon, found 50-year-old man dead in the yard with an apparent gunshot wound. They detained a 75-year-old man for questioning. On Sunday, the Bushwhacker Museum in Nevada hosts the first of what will be many special programs throughout the year. French Creole historian and fiddle player Dennis Stromat presented La Ginanie. It's originally a Celtic tradition to share food and bounty throughout the community during winter. Sunday's presentation gave folks an opportunity to learn more about this tradition.
I think events like today, the cultural, the music, the food, it's not just something from the past. It's alive. It's a culture. It's a tradition that's alive today. And people may not be aware of it, but that's why events like this are so much fun, because we're able to educate the public and hopefully develop an appreciation for this cultural heritage.
Officials with the museum say this is the first special guest like this they've had in 2 years due to the pandemic. The Mount Hope Church of Christ Coffee Shop is helping raise money to send some of its students to a special event. Winterfest is taking place in Arlington, Texas, which hosts students from a number of churches nationwide. The junior high and high school students at Mount Hope were working hard Saturday to raise funds so they could get down there. Each student needs to raise $140 to cover travel costs.
It's put on by Oklahoma Christian University. They have one in Arlington and in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. But yeah, it's a weekend event where we get to go and do lots of worship, hear some good teaching, and I think the kids are also excited about playing video games in the hotel. But yeah, we could go down there and have a good time with about 2,000 other people.
If you didn't make it to Saturday's fundraiser, you can contact the church and make a donation through this upcoming weekend. The city of Pittsburgh opens its burn site for 2022. The site is located a mile and a half east of Rouse on Quincy Street. Officials say it's for tree limbs and brush only, no trash, landscape timbers, treated wood, or other items like that. They say the wood must be in its natural form. In case of inclement weather, you can call 620-232-PARK or 7275 to get updated info on the site. The site is open the second Saturday of each month from 8 until noon. 6:07.
Take advantage of the burn opportunity there, Tanya. Number one, we are going to have elevated fire weather this week. It's going to get a little windier here middle of the week, and it's going to be dry all week long as well. But I tell you what, Tanya, have you ever been down to the burn pile when it's muddy? Okay, that can be an adventure as well. So it's nice to know that you're going to be able to get down there and know that you're going to be able to get out as well. Here's where we sit temperature-wise. It's chilly, anywhere from about 13 to 21 degrees. Work up into the mid-40s later on today. Very seasonable weather. Wind shifts overnight, comes in from the south. Throw up those 50s from Tuesday all the way to Friday.
I feel like Michael has a laundry list of stories from the burn site.
I have a multitude of stories. And they're good stories. Don't get me wrong. It's great that the city has that.
Most of them deal with how you get in and out.
It's an adventure down there, let me tell you.
All right.
I've had some tires spin down there before.
More to come. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we have a fabulous guest stopping by here to talk about how they're raising money for a first ever event held in Pittsburgh. Plus, the U.S. is faced with record COVID numbers causing not only issues in schools, but in the jobs sector as well. We'll have the details And 2021 saw a different job report than previous years. Stick with us. We'll tell you what that report showed. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Need a smart...
In Consumer Watch this morning, the pandemic led to massive layoffs in 2020, with the economy shedding millions of jobs that year. But in 2021, there was a major turnaround. Laura Podesta has the latest job numbers from Washington.
Businesses across the country are hiring, with millions of positions currently open. So analysts are disappointed the economy added just 199,000 jobs in December, about half of what was expected. Still, the job market remains on positive ground and is moving closer to pre-pandemic levels.
Since the pandemic low, which we saw in April of 2020, the economy has added back over 18 million jobs.
In 12 months, the unemployment rate fell from 6.7% to now just 3.9%.
The sharpest one-year drop in unemployment in United States history.
The Labor Department says 3 million people were unable to work last month because the pandemic forced their employer to close or lose business. And the fear is that number will continue to rise as coronavirus cases climb higher. The Mulvaney's B&L restaurant in Sacramento is temporarily shutting down after a number of employees tested positive for COVID-19.
As much as we hate it, 2 years into this darn thing, it's time to just say, let's take a week off and reassess.
The latest surge of infections is expected to slow hiring.
Don't forget, the economy is still moving forward. We could see a pullback for a month or 6 weeks, and that could impact growth.
But businesses are hoping Omicron cases will start to fade in the coming weeks, and the economic impact is only temporary. Laura Podesta, CBS News, Washington.
The current 3.9% unemployment rate is closing in on pre-pandemic levels. In February of 2020, the rate was at a historic low of 3.5%. Well, stocks fell to end last week. On Friday, the Dow slipped 4 points. The Nasdaq dropped 144. The S&P 500 fell 19. Investors will be watching two key inflation reports out later this week. The Consumer Price Index is due on Wednesday, and the Producer Price Index on Thursday. Both will give an indication on how hot the economy is running. Well, nearly 15,000 pounds of beef sticks are under a recall. Iowa Smokehouse Original smoked beef sticks were sold at Walmart, Kroger, and other retailers in 7 western states. They're made by Wisconsin-based Abbeyland Foods. The Department of Agriculture says the products contain milk, a potential allergen, but it's not declared on the label. Spider-Man continues swinging at the top of the box office for the 4th weekend in a row. No Way Home is the #1 film in the country. Spidey brought in another $33 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $668 million. That's the 6th highest total in film history, passing Titanic. That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to take...
Topping Healthwatch this morning, while the U.S. grapples with record COVID case numbers, some health experts are seeing signs the highly contagious Omicron variant may be about to peak in parts of the country while still spreading in others. CBS News correspondent Elise Preston reports from New York.
Amid a punishing winter surge, former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb says Omicron may soon be peaking in parts of the U.S.
If you look what's happening across the East Coast right now, New York City, Washington, D.C., Maryland, probably Florida as well have already peaked, maybe Delaware and Rhode Island.
But the doctor warns other regions may still be in for the worst from the fast-moving variant.
The risk right now is to the Midwest, where you have rising infection, where they aren't in the thick of their Omicron wave yet.
It took 6 months for the U.S. to report its first 4 million COVID-19 cases early in the pandemic. The last 4 million took 1 week. The number of COVID patients at Southeast Georgia Health System near Savannah more than doubled in 1 week.
I don't know when a finish line will be. I don't see one. I think COVID is something we're going to be dealing with for a while.
The unprecedented spike in COVID cases is creating staffing shortfalls across private and public sectors. Schools are looking for ways to keep children learning in person, but the nation's third largest district is still in limbo after teachers stopped showing up last week.
What the Chicago Teachers Union did was an illegal walkout.
They abandon their posts and they abandon kids and their families.
This weekend, the Chicago Teachers Union called for additional safety measures and proposed a plan for remote learning until mid-January. Elise Preston, CBS News.
Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington, Illinois says an 11-year-old snow leopard has died after struggling with COVID-induced pneumonia. Researchers say legalized cannabis is sending more children to the ER. A study in JAMA Network Open found since Canada legalized recreational cannabis, 9 times as many kids under 10 have needed to go to the ER for cannabis poisoning. Because most incidents involved accidentally eating edible cannabis products, the study's author says more may need to be done to reduce their appeal to young children. Well, young cancer survivors are twice as likely to experience psychological distress than those without a history of cancer. New research published in the journal Cancer shows people diagnosed with cancer between ages 15 and 39 more likely to experience depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and PTSD. Those mental health issues are also associated with considerably higher medical expenses. A simple blood test can help determine if someone is more at risk for lung cancer. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology shows using a blood test and taking it into account a person's smoking history could potentially identify 9% more cases for lung cancer screening. Food and Drug Administration will likely require a clinical trial before the method is approved. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
It's cold right now. We got more places that are in the teens than we even do the 20s. 22 is about as high as we see. Now this afternoon is going to be great as our temperatures mid-40s, whole lot of sunshine and not too windy, just a little west breeze at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overnight that wind is going to shift and work in from the south, and while we fall below freezing Monday night into Tuesday, get ready to run a string of 50s each and every afternoon of Friday with temperatures well above freezing during the nights.
Adult and teen.
Coming up, Kansas authorities investigate the discovery of 3 people found deceased inside a home in Larned, Kansas.
The work and school week starts off with a definitive chill across the Midwest, but we've got warmer temperatures on the way. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the Bushwhacker Museum in Nevada kicks off what it hopes will be a year's worth of special activities.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, starting off the week on a chilly note this morning.
Here's what's happening. I won't say here's a problem, but it's not a problem. It's just that the jet stream's grabbing all this cold Canadian air and just whipping it right down through us. They've even got a little Arctic blast here on the northeast, but here is what we're going to eyeball, the upside down U, also known as the ridge of the jet stream, because as this thing slides over to the east, you get below that, you're going to get some above average temperatures. Skywatch storm tracker, a whole bunch of high pressure throughout the Midwest, and it's absolutely going to be a gorgeous afternoon. We just need a little bit of a warm up as we range anywhere from about 13 to 22 degrees right now. Not much of a wind chill in effect, hasn't been too blustery. Our weather trend after we hit sunrise is 7:32, jaunts us up into the mid-40s this afternoon. Going to be very, very dry as well, humidity dropping around 30%. Sunshine will be the key for the rest of the week. Look at that. Roll those 50s, and then after tonight, we're able to stay out of the freezing zone all the way into the weekend. Now, we are going to look at a little Friday evening and nighttime rain that'll take us into Saturday. Follow that up with a cold front that puts us about almost 20 degrees cooler over the weekend compared to what we'll have the latter half of the work and school week.
All right, thanks, Michael. One man is dead following a crash between a semi and a sedan in Craig County. According to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, 29-year-old Lance Powell of Afton was westbound on US 60 when he crossed the center line and hit a semi-truck head-on. Officials say Powell was pinned in his vehicle. He was pronounced dead at the scene by Mercy EMS. The driver of the semi-truck was not injured. One person is dead and 2 others injured following a crash Sunday afternoon in Delaware County. Oklahoma Highway Patrol says 25-year-old Haley Witt of Locust Grove, Oklahoma, was killed in the crash. The driver of the other car was taken by helicopter to Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. Passenger of that car was taken by ambulance to Mercy Hospital in Joplin. OHP says they're still investigating what caused the crash. Kansas Bureau of Investigation, the Larned Police Department, and the Pawnee County Sheriff's Office investigate after 3 people are found dead inside their Larned, Kansas home. On Saturday night, just after 9, the Larned Police Department received a 911 call from a man who found the people in the home at 524 Park Street. 44-year-old Shayla Smith, 44-year-old John Smith, 12-year-old Carver Smith all died from gunshot wounds. KBI was called in to assist in the investigation. That investigation is ongoing. Authorities released the name of the victim in Friday's shooting in Jasper County. Jasper County Sheriff's Office has identified the victim as 50-year-old Brian Smith. Authorities say he lived at that residence. Officials say there will be no charges filed at this time and that an autopsy has been scheduled for today. On Friday, deputies responded to a report of an altercation on South Malang Road around noon and found a 50-year-old man dead in the yard with an apparent gunshot wound. They detained a 75-year-old man for questioning. On Sunday, the Bushwhacker Museum in Nevada hosts the first of what will be many special programs throughout the year. French Creole historian and fiddle player Dennis Stromat presented La Giani. It's originally a Celtic tradition to share food and bounty throughout the community during winter. Sunday's presentation gave folks an opportunity to learn more about this tradition.
I think events like today, the cultural, the music, the food, it's not just something from the past. It's alive. It's a culture. It's a tradition that's alive today. And people may not be aware of it, but that's why events like this are so much fun, because we're able to educate the public and hopefully develop an appreciation for this cultural heritage.
Officials with museums say this is the first special guest like this they've had in 2 years due to the pandemic. Well, dogs can recognize different languages and nonsense words, and that's according to a new study in Hungary. A total of 18 dogs, including 6 border collies, 5 golden retrievers, and 2 Australian shepherds, participated in the study. CNN's Lydia Kincaid has more on the story.
When Kun Kun, the border collie, and his owner moved from Mexico to Hungary, both were immersed in a new language.
Here people are really friendly with the dogs, so they are talking all the time to Kun Kun. But I was wondering if he can detect it's a different language.
So Kun Kun's owner set out to find an answer. She and a team of researchers in Budapest designed an experiment with 18 dogs to see if they can differentiate language. With their owners present and the ability to leave the scanner at any point, each of the dogs' brains were analysed with MRI scanning as they heard either Hungarian, Spanish, or scrambled speech. 2 of the pups were familiar with Spanish. The other 16 were used to hearing Hungarian.
What we see from these results is that they do pay attention. They do pick up on these auditory regularities that characterize a certain language.
Scans show different parts of the dog's brains were activated when a familiar language was spoken versus a non-familiar one, as well as when nonsense was spoken versus authentic speech. The researchers also found that the older the dog, the better its brain was able to distinguish between languages.
It reflects how dogs are social beings. So they are all the time pick up information about the social world. And for the dogs, humans, we are important source of information.
Kun Kun, who was one of the study participants, already knew as much.
¿Hablas español? ¿Seguro? ¿Ves mayor?
So while Fido may not be exactly bilingual, they may be hearing much more than you think. Linda Kincaid, CNN.
Let's head over to Michael with a look at your forecast.
Temperatures going to be up into the mid-40s today. Whole lot of sunshine. Do want to point out that elevated fire risks are going to be what our main concern this week, because it is going to be so dry. Next shot for precip and anything coming in from the Gulf really isn't until Friday night. But other than that, sit back, enjoy the sunshine, and temperatures a good 10 to 12 degrees above normal for the middle third of January.
That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, a deadly fire in the Bronx causes the loss of 19 lives. We'll have more details. Plus, 2022 is off to a rough start as some of our favorite celebrities pass away. And we want to know, which celebrity do you miss who's passed away recently? We let you weigh in.
At Furniture Row.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, a Sunday morning fire at a New York City apartment building killed at least 19 people, including 9 children, and that's according to city officials. CBS News correspondent Tom Hansen reports from the scene of the fire in the Bronx.
The fire that swept through a Bronx apartment building Sunday is one of New York City's deadliest in more than 3 decades.
I never expected 2022 to come in this way.
The blaze took the lives of adults and children and injured dozens, including several who were hospitalized in critical condition.
My entire department mourns along with the families here today and our entire city. We're all about saving lives, and the loss of one life is sad for us.
City officials say firefighters found victims on every floor of this 19-story building and were rescuing some who were in cardiac and respiratory arrest.
Black smoke I could barely see from me to you.
About 200 firefighters responded after the fire broke out around 11 a.m. Sunday. This resident says people fled their apartments and took temporary shelter in hers.
Once the fire department got there and they was able to get us out, they said, follow the stairs until you see light.
Officials said the fire originated in a duplex apartment on the 2nd and 3rd floors, caused by a malfunctioning electric space heater.
The fire consumed that apartment that is on 2 floors and part of the hallway.
The commissioner said firefighters found the door to the apartment open, which allowed smoke to spread through the 120-unit building. Tom Hansen, CBS News, New York.
Sunday's fire happened just days after 12 people, including 8 children, were killed in a row house fire in Philadelphia. A Missouri man is sentenced to 28 years in prison for killing his wife and burying her body in a Missouri state park. A judge sentenced 26-year-old Joseph Eldridge last Friday for the 2018 murder of his wife, Minqui G. The sentence is one jurors recommend last November when Eldridge was convicted of second-degree murder. Prosecutors allege he purposely killed his wife, buried her body at Rockbridge Memorial State Park south of Columbia, and then misled police for more than a year during their investigation. During his trial, Eldridge claims his wife's death was accidental. He says she fell and hit her head after he pushed her in an argument, and then he panicked and decided to bury her remains. Eldridge will have to serve at least 85% of his sentence before he is eligible for parole. Chicago Public Schools will close to start the week as negotiations with teachers happen over the weekend. Classes have been canceled for 270,000 public school children today, while Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is insisting negotiations with the Chicago Teachers Union must finish over the weekend. The city and union dispute over COVID-19 protocols during the Omicron variant continued into last Friday. The decision to close could, however, be reversed if a weekend deal is reached. Union representatives hadn't said how close a deal could be. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York tests positive for COVID-19. Ocasio-Cortez announced the positive test result a week after video posted online showing her not wearing a mask at a bar in Miami. According to a statement from her office, the Congresswoman had received a booster shot, is experiencing symptoms, and is resting at home. Ocasio-Cortez is the 66th member of current Congress to announce a positive COVID-19 test results. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll discussing celebrities who have recently passed away. On Thursday, one of the legends of the silver screen died at the age of 94. Sidney Poitier, the first black man to win an Academy Award for Best Actor, did that for his performance in Lilies of the Field. That was in 1965, a tragic way to begin the new year. As television icon and longtime animal advocate Betty White passed away on December 31. She would have turned 100 years old next Monday. Most recently, Bob Saget passed away yesterday at the age of 65. His body found at a hotel room in Florida. Most people remember Saget as the original host of America's Funniest Home Videos and, of course, as Danny Turner of the long-running TV series Full House, also known for his tremendous ability on the stage as a stand-up comedian. That's just a partial list of celebrities that have already passed away in this new year, and of course we find ourselves just 10 days into it. Our question to you is, which recent celebrity passing has affected you the most? Right now, 67% of you say it was indeed Betty White, with 14% going with Sidney Poitier and 14% saying Bob Saget. And of course, the Betty White, at one point, the movie that was going to be out here next week about her birthday is still going to be a remembrance of her wonderful life lived. You can take part each and every morning. There's a Facebook page. You can go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. And we also have our QR code. If you have your phone handy and you snap a picture of that, it will deliver you to the Instapoll, not only for this morning, but each and every morning. We're going to come back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. But first, let's check in with Tony, who's in New York.
I'm Tony DeCoppel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, rapper and activist Meek Mill talks about how he's using his platform to make real change in prisons nationwide. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Jack Poe. The Noel, Missouri native served in the U.S. Air Force. We thank you, Sergeant Jack Poe, today's four-state hero.
Choked up when there's an Evenson birthday. I get excited, especially when it's Ray Lynn, who's celebrating the big number 1. And that is a child on the go. You can tell right there. Happy birthday, Ray Lynn in Chanute.
Aw. Chase Marbury celebrating birthday number 8. What is in his hands? That is huge. Wow. I'm told the fish in the picture is not real. Thank you for telling me that.
So Jace, I'm gonna give you a little piece of advice. And I know Mom and Dad probably gave you the same advice. Don't tell them it's not real. No, you just send that out and you'd be like, yeah, it's just, I was out at the strip pit this weekend and I landed it.
Look how he's like carrying it without even straining too,
Great.
you know?
This is a great, yeah, that's great.
All right, apparently Jace celebrated his birthday on Saturday. He's in Fort Scott. Happy birthday, Jace.
Kyson Kidwell celebrating the 9th birthday, trophy in hand as well. Kyson, happy birthday to you. Also in Chanute.
All right. And in Webb City, birthday wishes coming from Dad, Mom, Jordan, and Olivia out to Casey Russell. Happy 16.
We've got a landmark birthday, a big 3-0 for one James Greenwood. Looks like Christmas was busy at the Greenwood household right there. James, a very happy birthday, and Gerard.
All right. And James Hutto celebrating birthday number 34 this year. Happy birthday to James in Columbus.
Steve Culp is celebrating a pair of 4s. Mr. Steve, 44 in Galesburg. And Steve, I want you to know this happy birthday wish comes from your wife and your loving mother-in-law.
All right. And Shelly Young turning 48 years old in Parsons, Kansas. Happy birthday to Shelly.
In the Berg, that's where we find Jeff Strahan, who's celebrating his 52nd. Happy birthday, Jeff.
All right. Margaret Elliott turning 90 this year, the big 9-0. Congratulations and happy birthday to Margaret in Chanute.
Chanute is the place to be today, that is for sure. Gracie Zook, she is celebrating her 11th birthday. Gracie is an extended member of the KOAM family, as she happens to be the granddaughter of our business manager, Rhonda Zook. And so Gracie, from all of us here, with special happy birthday wishes from Grandma. Have a great day in Columbus.
And
who that is?
Our very own Stacy Strader. She celebrated a birthday over the weekend. My cuz. Happy birthday, Stacy.
Happy birthday, Miss Stacy. She does so many things behind the scenes for us here, and really, every time we say KOAMnewsnow.com, not only is she running that, but I feel like an angel gets its wings, and she's like, yeah, good job, keep saying it. Yeah. Keep saying KOAMnewsnow.com.
She built up to that website, yes.
Happy birthday, Stacy, we love you.
All right, happy birthday, Stacy.
You know where we got to go back to? Chanute! Rita Olson, that's where Miss Rita is. She's celebrating a birthday in Chanute. Mark Veenstra turning 44. Mark, a happy birthday in Parsons. Cool name right here, cool name. With a name like Phoenix Wade, that's what I'm talking about. Phoenix, a happy 16th birthday in Columbus. And Dale Garrett celebrating number 69. Dale is in Miami. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this January the 10th. Maybe we're catching up. Maybe you celebrated on the 9th as well. That's where you can submit them to, birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also go to our website and make Stacey Strader happy, KOAMNewsNow.com. Now here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
Hey, another pitch for our website. Why don't you go over to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for our KOAM Birthday Club today. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses and even be able to register for a prize. It's so easy to sign up. Just go to KOAMNewsNow.com. Just search for the Birthday Club. You'll find it.
Here's what's coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We're going to meet a woman who's 106 years old. That's right, 106. She's going to share how she has lived more than a century and give us all words of wisdom that we can live by. Once again, we're going to have that story over on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. What a gorgeous look outside of Television City with the skies just clear as can be. It is still cold though, pair of 13s as low as what we see in Neodesha and in Parsons, actually making a triumvirate and throw Sedan in at 13 as well. We range anywhere from about 18 to 20 throughout southwest Missouri, and then Miami sits at 20 as well. That's a good 17-degree difference from where we were at this point in time Sunday. Sunday was odd. Well, we were at 48 degrees at midnight, and then we went straight down after that. Regionally speaking, it's not just us. There's chilly temperatures just about everywhere, but also regionally speaking, high pressure hanging over the entire Midwest, nary a cloud in the sky, also very, very dry. So what we're having is the jet stream bring in a whole bunch of cold Canadian air right there, but look at that. That blue, that indicates nothing but sunshine, not only for today, but almost the rest of the week. And our temperatures for the afternoons are going to keep getting warmer and warmer. Overnight, this will actually be the last night in some time where we slip below the freezing mark, and elevated fire concerns is how dry we are. Our humidity is going to plummet down, probably down below 30% here during our afternoon hours. But as you can tell, you get west of the Mississippi, and minus some heavy rain that they'll have up there in Washington State, that's about all that we're going to see. A 7-day forecast that lifts us into the 50s. That's a good 12 degrees above normal, and then these overnight lows looking great as well. Next shot for rain. Friday night works us into Saturday. A little bit of a cold front on us for the weekend. So enjoy the sunshine and the blue sky while it's here for the duration of our work week. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. One man is dead following a crash between a semi and a sedan in Craig County. According to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, 29-year-old Lance Powell of Afton was westbound on US 60 when he crossed the center line and hit a semi-truck head-on. Officials say Powell was pinned in his vehicle. He was pronounced dead at the scene by Mercy EMS. The driver of the semi-truck was not injured. One person is dead and 2 others injured following a crash Sunday afternoon in Delaware County. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says 25-year-old Haley Witt of Locust Grove, Oklahoma, was killed in the crash. The driver of the other car was taken by helicopter to Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. The passenger of that car was taken by ambulance to Mercy Hospital in Joplin. OHP says they're still investigating what caused the crash. Kansas Bureau of Investigation, the Larned Police Department, and the Pawnee County Sheriff's Office investigate after 3 people are found dead inside their Larned, Kansas home. On Saturday night, just after 9, the Larned Police Department received a 911 call from a man who found the people in the home at 524 Park Street. 44-year-old Shayla Smith, 44-year-old John Smith, and 12-year-old Carver Smith all died from gunshot wounds. KBI was called in to assist in the investigation. That investigation is ongoing. Mount Hope Church of Christ Coffee Shop is helping raise money to send some of its students to a special event. Winterfest is taking place in Arlington, Texas, which hosts students from a number of churches nationwide. The junior high and high school students at Mount Hope were working hard Saturday to raise funds so they can get down there. Each student needs to raise $140 to cover travel costs. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We got officially 36 minutes until sunrise. We'll roll it at 7:32. But once we get the orb up in the air, we can get out of the teens and low 20s, begin our jaunt up into the mid-40s, which is where we will be this afternoon. Whole bunch of sunshine. Won't even see any clouds roll by. And at least we're headed in the right direction. Abnormally dry and kind of abnormally warm as we're able to roll the 50s for the rest of the school/work week.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making Florida Sunshine Strawberry Salsa in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Also, military families say they're facing illness and loss after exposure to toxic water at a Marine base. Coming up on CBS Mornings, how they're still fighting to be heard in court nearly a decade after the U.S. government acknowledged the danger.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we're going to honor the life of comedian and actor Bob Saget.
Plus, we bring you the story of how a dog who was trapped in 5 feet of snow was finally rescued. And also, as we said earlier, going to introduce you to a woman who's 106 years old.
And Miss Jackie Knopf returns to tell us more about the upcoming Pittsburgh Pride Festival and what they're doing to raise funds for it this Friday night.
All right, so flip on over. Join us on Fox 14. That does it for this Monday edition. Enjoy the sunshine. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we'll do it again today at noon.
Welcome to Sonics.